Hello, welcome to Anime Mystics. I'm Roman, and tonight I am watching Goblin Slayer episode 9. So we got 3 more episodes till the season is over. I pretty much already know what arc is going to be the last one, seeing as how they skipped it to go to this one. This current arc, I mean. So, I already know what's going to come up, but we still got to finish this one, which I'm pretty sure is going to end today. So last episode, Goblin Slayer was resurrected. So, he was dead, but I guess, or at least close to death. But seeing as how what was done on him was basically a resurrection spell or whatever, I'm going to assume he was actually dead. And basically, in order for that to happen, is he has to sleep next to a virgin priestess, basically, because Sword Maiden is not a virgin, mainly because she was captured by goblins, and yeah, not good for her. But he's alive, and they basically took a day off, or maybe, like, I'm going to assume a whole day off. One, to allow Elf, Dwarf, and Lizard Man to go into the sewers again and kind of scout the place out. And 2, to give him a chance to, well, I think it was 3 days or something like that, but give him a chance to kind of rest since he just woke up. That and he needed to get his armor repaired, and Priestess needed to get her chainmail repaired, seeing as how it had a big bite out of it. He, along with the shopkeep, I guess is what you would call him, both suggested that she just buy a new set, but she said it has sentimental value since it's the first thing that, as she put it, was the first thing he complimented her on. For buying chainmail. Now, he gave the guy his armor, but kept his helmet. So he was still wearing his helmet. And then went and bought a sword. The person at the shop does not realize who he is, so when he grabbed a sword that would only be good for fighting goblins, he was a little surprised when he told him, that's what I'm going to be doing with it. And said it was a little long, so he was going to use his, I think it's called a whetstone, to shorten it. Then him and Priestess kind of walked around the town for a bit. She's basically trying to get him to open up more. Because, as she said, all he ever really says is, yeah, and I see. All the time. So he's trying to speak a little more. Like when he answers somebody, he's not just gonna say, yeah, or I see. He's gonna add a little more to the end of it. And he actually gave her a little bit of insight into how he thinks a little bit. Not like when it comes to goblins, but about something that scares him. Because she brought up, how there's all these goblins underneath the city and nobody really knows, and, something like that. Basically about how they would be terrified or something if they knew that all these goblins were underneath their feet. And I think kind of what he was getting at with his story, which was that he, since he was young, has been afraid that the ground would just fall out from underneath him, and he would be killed. At any moment, the ground could just give out, and he would die. And he says that is a big fear of his. He hasn't gotten over it, actually, and is still afraid of that. But he has to keep going. He can't just not live his life. He has to just basically ignore it. So basically, I think he was kind of getting at that even if they knew the goblins were beneath their feet, they'd still have to go about their life, not worry about it too much, because that's not going to do any good at all. Then when Elf and Dwarf and Lizard Man came back, they went back into the ruins, and they're explaining kind of what they found, and a little bit of a troublesome creature. They go into this room. Well, they don't go into it. They're outside the door. And you see like a floating eye, giant eye, with a bunch of like tentacle things around it with other eyes. And Lizard Man is basically explaining and shows him what it's capable of and tosses a rock in there. And one of its little tentacle eyes looks over there and shoots a beam. Apparently, it's able to use a technique called disintegrate. So that's not good. And it also knows dispel, so it can undo spells. So if he cast a Dragon-Tooth Warrior out there, and it saw him do the spell, it would just use dispel, and that would be useless. Which I mentioned in the last episode, in the manga, and probably the light novel as well. The reason they found that out was not because Lizard Man told them, but because they went in there and tried to fight with it a little bit. And Priestess cast, I believe it was Protection. And this thing used Dispel on her protection, making it useless. And they had to retreat. At least for a little bit, until Goblin Slayer came up with the same plan he used in this episode, where he had Spearman and the witch bring him a bag of flour, like a big, 10, 20 pound bag of flour. Very finely grained flour. They mentioned that he could just buy it at the Watertown, and he said the stuff here is not good. It has to be really fine, and this stuff they have here isn't, I can only use the stuff that they have back at our town. And basically, they have Elf distract the eye while the dwarf casts, I cannot remember the name of the spell, but the one he used against all the goblins in that one area when they went on their first mission, which put this thing to sleep. Then he had the Lizard Man make a Dragon-Tooth Warrior, and he threw the bag of flour in there to make it like smoky, hard to see. And then they had Priestess cast Protection around the door, and then he sent the Dragon-Tooth Warrior in, and the elf fired an arrow at this eye to wake it up, because it just needed to be hit. It didn't need to be killed, so just hit it anywhere. And then when it saw the Dragon-Tooth Warrior, it tried to use its disintegrate, and it caused a huge explosion, killing the eye and, well, obviously the Dragon-Tooth Warrior. Because apparently if you have like really fine dust in a small room and there's a spark, it can cause an explosion. Elf wasn't too happy about this. Even before they went in there, she reminded him not to use water, fire, or poison. And he explained this wasn't directly using fire, so it's fine. And she's like, okay, whatever. I'll let this one go. And then they end it with them looking at a mirror that's on the wall. And it kind of has a ripple effect in it. So it's not an ordinary mirror. And that's where it ended. So basically it's just going to pick up right where it left off. And we're going to see the conclusion to this mission. Let's get into this. Let me fix this. This is right after our One Piece reactions, so I need to fix the video. There we go. Okay, so the video is going to be located over here, and the link to the reaction is going to be in the description down below. There's the volume. Turn you down a little. Well, actually. And we're going to start this episode in